Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm joining today from the homelands of the Lenni Lenape people in Brooklyn, New York. It's a beautiful day here, a beautiful fall day, and I hope you're all feeling the same where you are. Eric mentioned my name is Susan Oetgen. I'm NASA's Arts Learning Projects Director, and I'm really delighted to be moderating today's session, New Opportunities in Creative Aging, as part of NASA's ongoing Shifting Policy and Practice, Insights and Actions for States learning series. Thanks for joining. I like to begin virtual meetings by acknowledging that it actually takes a lot of work to be in two places at once. We're all here on Zoom together, and we're also in our own physical spaces. So this is a friendly reminder to stretch, drink some water, look away from your screen every once in a while, take some deep breaths, whatever helps you stay present and grounded. And I'd also like to welcome everyone to our shared space by inviting you to add a word or two, also to the chat, to describe the weather where you are. We're about a week past the autumnal equinox in the Northern Hemisphere. Let us know, what is fall like for you where you are? And while you're doing that, I'll let you know that in the first part of today's session, we're going to hear from Teresa Bonner of Aroha Philanthropies and Annie Montgomery of Lifetime Arts about how creative aging as a practice area has been evolving in response to the circumstances of COVID-19. In the second part of our session, we'll get to see creative aging in action. After that, we'll open things up for audience Q&A. But please feel free to chat any questions that come up for you along the way. And Eric and I will go ahead and keep track of them, bring them forward again towards the end of our session in our Q&A. Before I turn things over to Teresa and Annie for our presentation, I'll offer quick introductions. Teresa Bonner brings more than 30 years of professional experience in philanthropy, foundation, and nonprofit leadership to her role as Executive Director of Aroha Philanthropies. She's a frequent presenter on philanthropy as well as on creative aging on the national stage, including at past NASA convenings, assemblies, and leadership institutes. Bonner was a partner at the Minneapolis law firm of Lindquist and Venom before moving to the nonprofit sector, and has served as director of several foundations, including U.S. Bancorp Foundation, the Piper Jaffray Foundation, and the Library Foundation of Hennepin County. She's an avid potter and gardener. Excuse me. Annie Meek Montgomery is the Director of Education for Lifetime Arts, where she leads the design and the delivery of Lifetime Arts' many professional development and education efforts. Annie facilitates trainings for a wide range of practitioners, including teaching artists, librarians, arts organizations, and funders. She's a faculty member at the New School College of Performing Arts, where she teaches the full-year required course, Collaborative Research Studio, The Teaching Artist. Annie is an active theater artist as an actor, director, and playwright. Welcome to you both. So delighted that you're joining us today. And Teresa, we'll hear from you first.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Susan and Eric. It's an honor to join you today on behalf of Aroha Philanthropies and our founder and president, Ellen Michelson. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and for inviting us to bring creative aging to your biennial assembly. We're so grateful that you share our interest in and commitment to this topic. I was asked to talk about what's changed over the past year, a topic that could take an hour all by itself, but I promise I won't talk that long. You all are acutely aware of the changes and challenges that 2020 has brought to the arts and cultural sector, but I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the impact that COVID-19 and our response to it is having on older adults. As we know, people over 65, people with pre-existing conditions, and people of color are at higher risk of dire health outcomes from COVID. Does this mean our response is to care less or take precautions less seriously because the people most affected are other? I'm afraid it often does, and I just want you to remember that's ageism, ableism, and racism at work all at one time. Social isolation was one of the biggest challenges older people faced before COVID-19, and of course that has worsened dramatically during the pandemic, straining our health and well-being with no clear end in sight. So let's look at how the arts can help with that. During my comments today, I'm sharing some lovely images of work being created in creative aging sessions. You, I promise, will see tremendous beauty and opportunities shining through these images. Eric, are you able to advance the slides? Thank you. Last year, the momentum behind creative aging was palpable. More and more people were learning about, discussing, and launching creative aging programs. More funders were beginning to support this work. Then came the pandemic, and after a brief period in which the prevailing fantasy was that this was a short-term crisis, there came the dawning realization that a new delivery model for creative aging had to be created, and quickly. But there were only questions. How could online programs be delivered to older adults in their homes? Given the financial crisis organizations faced, was there any bandwidth or money for innovation? Would program staff remain in place in the face of furloughs and layoffs? Would their teaching artists be willing and able to make this huge change? Could virtual programs be any good? Could older people participate given issues of access to technology? And most importantly, would they even want to? At Aroha, we felt we needed to address this quickly. We couldn't squander the momentum that had begun to build. The museums in our third cohort of Seeding Vitality Arts grantees had largely finished their first year of programming and would soon be starting a second. Virtually none had experience offering programs online. So in April 2020, we offered our cohort members small grants to pilot online creative aging programs. Again, we wanted to help them be successful, so we provided inspiration, we hoped, and technical support through a series of learning sessions developed in partnership with Lifetime Arts. I'm really happy to say that 26 grantees took the plunge and developed multi-session online creative aging workshop series. These series encompassed watercolor, memoir, dance, storytelling, book arts, ceramics drawing, collage, and more. We modeled, as you are today, doing high quality Zoom sessions with breakout rooms, good video, and good protocols. Lifetime Arts shared technical advice and support on adapting creative aging curriculum to the online environment. Grantees shared their experiences with one another. 3 teaching artists demonstrated virtual creative aging classes, and I am so glad you will get to experience one of these today. The response has been overwhelmingly positive. Some grantees reported that they had to be pulled kicking and screaming into teaching online, but they came to believe that these classes could not only be good, but really, really effective. To their surprise, some participants became more engaged on Zoom than they had been in person. We don't really know why. Maybe it's having everyone's face so close. Many saw new participants who couldn't have traveled to in-person classes because of any number of issues, but they even saw people from other parts of the country as invitations were forwarded from friend to friend and family to family. And we saw that people who might have had to miss classes because of travel or scheduling conflicts or appointments could still participate. All this is not to say that online delivery is preferred. Of course, we'd rather be together in person, but the discomfort of having to make such a dramatic change opened up strategic possibilities that hadn't been recognized or addressed previously when we had the comfort of doing it the way we'd always done it. For additional context, more is happening across the country. The American Alliance of Museums has published now blog posts from 11 of our Seeding Vitality Arts grantees on their creative aging programs, with more on the way. If you go to the American Alliance of Museums site, you can find these if you search creative aging. These posts have now begun to feature online programs and case studies from museums that are making the switch. And we think this is so critical because there's so much to learn, but there's also a huge amount of stress, as you know, on education departments in the arts. In addition, the Wyoming State Arts Council recently announced a major collaboration with its state library and Lifetime Arts. And that collaboration is being supported by the Community Foundation in Wyoming. The New York State Arts Council has begun a major creative aging collaboration with the state's Aging Services Department and also with Lifetime Arts. And I'm happy to say, I learned from NASA that the Mid-Atlantic Arts Council's 2020 Teaching Artist Virtual Retreat featured creative aging, and I believe that may be for the first time. So on the next slide, my last slide, you will see the locations where Aroha has funded creative aging programs. We're proud to see many programs up and running, but like you, we're very concerned about the future. And that's where I know your expertise and your commitment will come in. So one last thought. In our country, supports for the arts has historically centered on professional artists and organizations that present their work. Everyone else has generally been regarded as audience. Creative aging programs, I would submit, allow us to support older adults not just as consumers of culture, but producers of it. Thank you all of you NASA members, all of you people in the states and other jurisdictions for your leadership and your support of this movement. We're looking forward to all the chapters ahead. Susan.
Thank you so much, Teresa. And now we're going to hear from Annie.
Great. Thank you, Susan. And thank you for inviting Lifetime Arts to be a part of this session and to talk about creative aging, especially now in light of COVID and the social isolation that so many of our older adults are facing, and the potential that creative aging programs can really do to help older adults at this time of isolation, in all sorts of ways. So what I'm going to do today a little bit is to tell you about Lifetime Arts' role in that mission of bringing the arts to older adults, and really talk about specifically our area of focus. And we're going to talk about the shift to virtual programming through experiencing a virtual program. We have a beautiful artist, Lynda Monick-Isenberg, who will lead us through that visual arts program in just a little bit. But I also just want to give a little bit of heads up that it will be a truncated program when we get there to the art making and to the learning. And it'll also be a little annotated by me as we go through. So we're not just experiencing the artwork and the art practice, but we are also thinking about how you make adaptations for online, but also how you design programs with older adult learners firmly in place. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Lifetime Arts. So we were established in New York in 2008 as a service organization to help develop an infrastructure for the emerging field at that time of creative aging. And our founders, Maura O'Malley and Ed Friedman, they were both arts professionals and caregivers, and they really saw a need to shift traditional senior programming from passive entertainment to engaged learning by promoting arts education specifically designed for older adult learners. Lifetime Arts, we work across the country with public libraries, arts and cultural organizations, senior serving organizations, and teaching artists. We provide training and professional development like today's presentation, but we also provide online resources and technical capacity building support and assistance. Our goal is to help community-based organizations deliver engaging and participatory creative aging arts education programs that recognize older adults as creative and social learners. Next slide, please. So to specifically design or to define arts education older adults, I just want to take a moment to go over what we mean by that. So under the creative aging umbrella, there are two main types of programming that you may or may not be aware of. There's arts education, which is the focus of Lifetime Arts, and there are the arts therapies. Primarily, the people that tend to register for creative aging arts education programs are independent older adults who live in a wide range of communities, including continuous care, retirement, and assisted living communities, as well as older adults who live at home. Therapeutic art programs generally take place in clinical or skilled nursing settings. You probably might be familiar with wonderful programs for people living with memory loss, like time slips. Now, although both of these programs have incredible benefits for the participants that utilize them, the goals of the programs are actually quite different. Therapeutic programs use art modalities and creative processes to promote wellness, recovery, and rehabilitation through unique, personal, creative interactions. Arts education or instructional arts programs focus on older adults as art makers and learners. The goals are instructional, but often the results still are therapeutic. But whether doing an in-person program or a virtual program, the following components will ensure that older adult learners still have a high-quality artistic learning and creative experience. And so the things that we really need to see in creative aging arts education programs, whether it's online or in person, is that they are sequential classes. Classes that meet week after week after week. They're not what we might call traditional drop-in programming. You commit to coming week after week after week. They're taught by professional teaching artists, and it is registration based. So it means that the participants sign up, but they can be free. They can still be free programming, or depending on your organization, they might be fee based. It really varies from organization to organization. For the remainder of this presentation, we're just going to simply utilize the term creative aging to refer to the arts education lane of programming that we're talking about. Next slide, please. So creative aging goals for older adults are to learn new skills in a given art form and practice and develop mastery of those skills while building community through ongoing art making, reflective process, and intentional social engagement opportunities that are directly connected to the art making. So no matter how it is delivered in person, online, or any other alternative format, programs need to include these two main goals in regards to the students, and that is developing mastery of an art form. It happens over time, and forming community through the art making experience. To define further, mastery of skills is learning an art form in depth and having the opportunity to practice the art form and become better at it over time. And social engagement and building community between participants should be connected to that art making and learning. Now, because of COVID, most of older adult programming is moving to virtual platforms, as most of our programs are, and will remain virtual for the foreseeable future. However, mastery of skills and social engagement opportunities continue to be the bedrock of creative aging programs, and they still need to be guiding principles in program design, whether programs are delivered via online or through virtual platforms. Next slide, please. So to ensure that mastery and social engagement goals are achieved, we encourage designing programs with these principles in place that you see on the slide. We use the acronym of S.A.F.E to denote the elements of a quality creative aging program. Now, these elements are based on adult learning theories or andragogical theory, and they are built upon the pedagogy that has been developed in arts education residency programs that have been going on for years and years and years that you often see as standard practice in the K through 12 educational systems. So you may need to do some extra planning to make sure that these elements are present in an online or other remote delivery program, and you may adapt maybe some of the lengths of the program or the duration of the program, but these elements need to still really be in place, even in a virtual setting. So they are the skills first. One skill builds to the next skill over time through practice and experimentation and reflection. Assessment. And so when we speak about assessment, when working with older adult learners, this is really the teaching artist assessment of their students, evaluating their students in process of the class to tailor their instruction to match the needs of each student as an individual learner. So how is the teaching artist able to assess their students in an in-person platform, but also in an online platform? It gets a little more tricky. Feedback. This is the opportunity in every class session for the students to talk about their work and their artistic process, and how can that be developed in an online platform. And finally, engaging socially. Intentional social engagement, specifically tied to the art making to build community between the students. Again, that may look like one thing in an in-person setting, but the adaptations that need to be made in a virtual setting is something that you might need to think a little bit more about. But today, we can stop sharing the slides now. That'd be great, thank you. But today, we're lucky, we're gonna actually experiment with some of these concepts through having a demo class with Lynda Monick-Isenberg. And Lynda is a beautiful visual artist, and she is here today to lead us through this session. And let me tell you a little bit about Lynda. She is a visual artist and an educator, and on equal terms. She is a longtime faculty member at the Minneapolis College of Art and Design, and she has designed and taught undergraduate and graduate courses and developed their teaching artist programming, mentoring hundreds of teaching artists and working across ages in virtual art forms and developing organizational needs and assessments. She is also working on creative aging as a teaching artist and has taught creative aging classes with Common Bond communities and other assisted living communities throughout Minnesota. Welcome, Lynda. We're so happy to have you guide us through this class.
Thank you, Annie. Yeah,
what I'm gonna do now is we all get to participate in this class, yes. Whether you're on camera or not. But Eric has just posted some instructions. What's going to happen now is I would love for those of you that would like to volunteer to be in this art class, we're going to choose.
Volunteer.
Yeah, we're going to choose 6 of you. So raise your hands high, and Eric is going to choose 6 of you if you'd like to participate. If you're participating, that means you will be sharing and talking and discussing. You're going to be in class. So please, 6 volunteers, raise your hands. Don't be shy. This is going to be fun. And we're all going to make art together. All of us are going to participate, but 6 will be on camera.
I promise it will be very engaging.
Wave your hand.
It is not hard.
I see Michael Faison raising his hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
I see C. Scott Fitz.
Dana Payne.
Great.
Julie.
Great. Big Vigilant, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
2 more. Don't be shy. It's going to be fun, I promise. Oh, good, Allison.
Allison, thank you.
And we can do it with 5 too, as well.
Make it easy for me, y'all. That's great. Whatever works, Annie.
Yeah, that works great. All right.
Perfect.
So everyone else, please turn off your cameras. And while you're doing that, go to the video camera on your toolbar at the bottom and click on the arrow on the right side of the video camera and click video settings. This is all in the chat, but I'm reading it out. And click hide non-video participants. And then that way we should move all of our volunteers up to the page 1. Great, and I think we have everybody. I'm gonna keep my camera on.
Okay.
Great.
Super. Are we ready to start, Annie?
Yes, you can start, and I'll just give a reminder. I'll be popping in now and again to annotate certain design aspects as Lynda moves through the class, but otherwise, everybody please participate. All you need is a paper and a pen or a pencil.
I just want to pull up my view here so that I have a view so that I can see everybody that's participating, and I want to welcome everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. I want to welcome everyone, and I'm hoping that everyone whose face I do not see is also has a pen and a piece of paper and can work alongside with us. And those of you that are whose beautiful faces are up here in front of me, if you would go ahead and make sure that you have 2 pieces of paper and a pen, pencil, or some kind of drawing material. I don't care what it is. We can make good with anything. We are going to get going. So what we're going to do today is we're going to begin a very short and, as Annie said, truncated version of a journey into visual journaling. And this is a visual journal is something that is part of a creative practice of anybody. You don't need to be an artist. You don't need to be a writer. You can just be you can be a regular person like me, and you can create this visual journal that's going to really help you reflect on the world around you, allow you to write, doodle, draw, crinkle, tear, whatever it is that you feel like doing, to express or to research or to take a look at the world around you and how you're feeling about that world around you. The visual journal is really interesting because nobody sets any limitations for it, only you. You're the one that directs everything in it. It isn't for anybody else to see. It's totally related to the individual of the artist who's participating in it. Now, Annie, I think I need to get just the participants that I'm seeing here. So what did I need to do again just to see people that have video on?
Everybody else, everyone else, if we can all click hide non-video participants on your video settings. If you go to your video, go to video settings.
Got it.
Yes, exactly.
And I must not have done that. Is that under general?
If you go to your camera, press the up arrow, go to video settings.
Yep, got it.
And then under video, you'll see a check mark. It says hide non-video participant.
Got it. Thank you. I apologize for that. I thought I had it done, and I did not. So I really apologize. Great. Now I know who's here. Okay, this is my class. Before I had a lot of black space, and that wasn't working very well. So anyway, let me get back into where I was. So we're working with this visual journal. Has anybody in our class here done a visual journal before? Have you even heard of it? Anybody heard of it? So this is new to you. You have. Is it C? Thank you. C. So this won't be all new for you. So you're going to be one of our leaders, right? Awesome. So the other hardest part of creating the visual journal is setting those limitations. So I'm going to help you with that today. What we're going to do is I'm going to introduce the visual journal, which I've just begun. I'm going to give you an example of the visual journal, and we're going to do 2 prompts together, and we're going to reflect on those prompts. So the first prompt is this. I'd like you to have your paper and your pen ready in front of you so that it's easy for you to access. And I'd like you just to sit back and relax for a moment, and I'd like you to shut your eyes and identify an emotion or a feeling or a personal characteristic that you feel like engaging with right now? And we'll just sit with that. All of my people that I can't see, I'd love you to do this too. It's a good way to settle. And when you feel ready, I'd like you to take your pencil or your pen and just put it down, and you can keep your eyes open or you can keep your eyes shut, and just to make a mark that begins to explore that feeling, a long, continuous line. That explores that feeling. And as soon as you're done, put your pencil up so I can see that you're finished.
And are we keeping our eyes closed for this?
You can have them closed or open, whatever suits you. There's lots of right ways to do things, especially for our risk takers here, right? So I have Michael's finished, Allison's finished, Dana's finished, Julie's finished. And so, see, are you nearly finished? Thank you. I didn't mean to rush you. They don't give me a lot of time here today. So thank you for attending to it so beautifully. So what I'd like you to do next is I'd like you to hold your image up to your camera so that we can see a little bit of you and a little bit of the image, or most of the image. And then I'm going to call names, and I'd like you to introduce yourself and share the feeling, characteristic, or emotion that you were playing with. I'm going to call out just so that we can know who's doing what. So Michael, I'm going to have you start. You can go ahead if it's not noisy in your backgrounds and keep your mics on. It sometimes just makes it easier.
Yes, well, it isn't anything representational, but it's just how I feel about the changing of the season, and regardless of all the cacophony and dissonance that we see about elsewhere in the world, just the peace and quiet in the backyard with fall turning and ready to start opening up pumpkins and gourds for soups.
I even see a pumpkin or gourd there. It feels very gourd-like. There's a very calm kind of mark that you've created. Thank you for sharing that with us. Allison, could you go next?
Okay. So I guess mine was more than just, I mean, it was one line, but it's sort of, I had my eyes closed, by the way.
Wonderful.
This was showing me as happy, and I was looking forward to getting out for a walk sometime soon. So this was going to be me walking in the brisk, sunny, late afternoon.
And so it has that sense of joy. I'm really feeling that sense of joy with those arms up in the air and those legs that are sort of walking quickly. Thank you for sharing that, Allison. Dana. And did I say your name correctly? Thank you. Can you unmute?
Yeah.
There we go. Let's see.
So what this is, it starts at in the bottom corner is unwarranted anxiety. So that's what those points along the way are, and then towards the top is the future, because you know sometimes during these times you know I can get anxious over any little silly thing, and it just snowballs uphill. Like that.
Snowballs uphill, and that really expresses an unwarranted anxiety as it moves up that plane with a dot, dot, dot at the end. Very powerful, Dana. Thank you.
I'm going to pause you here.
Thank you, Annie.
Yes, and so this is where I'll jump in a little bit, and we're going to be truncating. In a normal class, she would have everybody feedback. But I just want to explain a little bit what she's done in terms of design. She has now set up the class by being transparent about what you're going to be doing today. She would probably have even taken more time, but because this is truncated, to really, so the students know from the beginning what the class is going to look like. She's also being really transparent about the kind of culture that you're in. She comes in with a bright energy, transparency around mistakes, around struggling with even, not that they're mistakes, Lynda, but even struggling with a little bit of tech, and like, oh, we're all getting used to this. This is part of the process, particularly in synchronous classes, and to set up that culture that we're here together, working together as learners. And then she's also, the first activity is a social engagement activity that is connected to the art form. You will see very shortly that it's not just a random drawing activity, will be connected to the skill that they were relearning, but it is a way for students to share and express a little bit about how they're feeling in this moment, and their sort of ease with the activity itself. So she can assess where each student is. And when we talk about extended time and using synchronous time for classes, that is actually where the time comes in, is in these moments of social engagement. The work and practice time might actually take place outside of class. So I'm going to let you keep on pushing through. Lynda, why don't you move now to your resource share?
Okay, thank you. I just, one really quick thing. I just want Julie and C to hold theirs up because I just have to see them. Thank you. I can get the feeling from both of them, even without you speaking. They're very expressive. Thank you for doing that. And I can see why you were taking your time as you were moving through filling that page. And thank you, Julie. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do a screen share. We're going to take a look at a visual journal. So we have an example of what one kind of visual journal can be. What I would like you to do now is just relax into this 2-minute video and just enjoy what you're seeing, and try to notice what captivates you about any of the content that we're going through. It's going to be flipped through, and if everything works correctly, as Annie said, I had everything set up, so we will continue, and it is right here, and I am sharing so you can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Can you hear the sound?
No, just you right now.
Okay, I'll take my earphones off.
Now we can hear it.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. We want to thank Danielle Mackey for that video. We always want to acknowledge the artist's work that we're using. So what I'd like to do next is have you share with me what you noticed or what resonated with you about that video. Is there anybody who'd like to begin? Thank you, Dana.
One thing that I noticed were the color palettes, and
Can you,
you know, like one on the right hand side of on the right hand page, it seemed to be inspiration and color palettes, and then on the left was, you know, more fulfilled image or, you know, visual. That's the one thing that I noticed.
so what I'm hearing you say, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that you're seeing sort of an experimentation on the right-hand side of the page, and then on the other side of the page, you're watching them take what they've learned from one side and apply it to the
Yes.
other. Is that fair?
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Anybody else? Yes, thank you, Julie.
For me, it was being able to read some of what was written there and the different moods that were reflected in the paintings, whether it was the color or whether it was an actual flower or whether it was an abstract something. And just quickly reading, it seemed very reflective of the good mood or hard day or, you know, what was going on in her life. And I love that.
So so I'm hearing you talk about that personalization that I discussed earlier, that it's really a personal interaction with those pages and an expression of what's happening to our artist inside, to us inside as we're creating that journal. Thank you, Julie. Is there anybody else who'd be willing to share? Thank you, C.
One of the things that I noticed was how saturated the colors were. Yeah. And rich. Even when she was just focusing on one object, like the one object that I'm thinking of right now, which made me laugh, I don't know why, was the sock, the single sock.
That was so funny. The same thing happened to me because it's like that. It reminded me of always that lost sock, right? The lost sock and the colors in it and the way the shadow pushed those colors forward, right? That cool shadow pushed those warm colors forward. So you really caught on to the way that she's using technique and color theory within exploring color theory within the journal.
Okay, I'm going to pause you here again.
Thank you.
Just annotate a little bit what's happening now in terms of design. So she's shown a resource that you all could then reflect upon. And she goes really deeply into the reflection, which serves as a social engagement component, because she doesn't ask, do you like it? Do you not like it? She asks, what do you see? What has an impact on you? What are you, remembering? And that is a way to engage in people's perspective and their points of view. And she's drawing that out without people being kind of spotlighted there. She's asking for volunteers. She's opening this dialogue. She's also affirming everything that everyone's saying. Did I hear you say correctly? If I'm hearing you correctly, how did this sit? And this is validating a sense of purpose and confidence, and that the older adult student is being heard, being seen, and building their ability to express themselves more and more as they move through the class. All of this is an assessment and in social engagement opportunities. She's assessing you as she's getting to hear your perspective, and you are all hearing about one another's perspective. And finally, it is setting the groundwork for feedback to come. The way that she is dialoguing around a resource that is not connected to any of the art makers in the space, but an outside resource, but the way you're looking at the resource is building aesthetic sort of perspective, critical analysis, but set up in a way that is talking about what you see, what you notice, what interests you versus what you don't like or what you like. And this will all feed into feedback later in the process when you start looking at the student's own artwork. And I'll let you push on forward, Lynda.
Thanks, Annie. One other piece to that when I'm doing it, and whenever I give the paraphrasing, I always mean it. I'm very serious about it. It isn't just a technique. It's what I'm really curious about. It's a way for me to assess if what I'm trying to do is it's a personal assessment on my teaching as I go. So I thank you, Annie. What I'd like to do next is move you into a prompt, and we're going to actually do another drawing at this point. Because we use our hands and our eyes and our senses throughout our lives to create, from working in the kitchen to working in the garden to building something in a shop to the work we do on this computer every day, I really want to focus on the hand today. So I'd like to think and reflect on our hands with our mind and our eyes through this drawing prompt. We're going to trace our hands, and then we're going to create detail inside of it. It's sort of like the hand turkey that you all did when you were 3, 4, or 5. One of your very first drawing experiences. If you can think back to that and think about how successful that felt when you were 3, 4, or 5. Well, you are going to be even more successful today with this. We're going to do it a little bit differently. So in order to do this, I'm going to do a quick demonstration, and hopefully my technology is going to work out this time. There's always a few glitches. But I'm going to share my screen, and I have an iPad that I'm going to do a demo with. I can do this with a cell phone, or I can do this with an iPad. So I'm going to do screen sharing. I'm going to pull up my screen. I'm going to go into my QuickTime, open my player, do my new video, and hopefully you will see my my desk here. So you are actually in my studio working with me right now, which is actually so cool because so many of them, hundreds of students that I've had over the years have not had the chance to be in my studio, but now they are. So what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to just do a quick demo, and then I'm going to let you draw, is that I'm going to place my arm down on my sheet of paper. Now I can do this any way that I want. I can do it in any direction that I want, but I think I'll do it just this way, arm coming on from one side, and then just giving me a little bit of space, about a 1/2 inch up here at the edge, so I don't go off the paper. I'm going to feel the paper. I'm going to think about where the pressure is in my hand. Again, shutting my eyes always helps me kind of relate to my body better. Think about how we're using 2 hands to do this. We have one that we don't even think about. It just goes about and does its business. And this other one that we're really focused on. We are quite wonderful creatures that we can do this. So we're going to, I want to feel where the pressure is. I want to sense my arm. And then I'm going to come up tight and slow with a continuous contour line as I gently caress with my pen the edges of my hand. Where there's a bump and a callus, I put a bump and a callus. My ring is there. It has a different shape, and this very, very kind of busy knuckle. It's had a lot of time bending over the years. I can't get all the way in here. That's all right. I'm just going to come around and go on the edge here. I can feel the pen along the edge of my finger. It's soft. It's kind of sensual and delightful. And when I'm finished, I will pick that hand up. And then I'm going to let you all do that at this time, if you would. And I'll walk you through it a little bit. And I will come back while you're doing that. So lay your hand down on your paper. Fill that paper up. Use any direction you want your fingers to move is fine. There's no right or wrong. It's all right. And then gently find that outline. Observational drawing is tracing. It's just that as we continue to develop our skill as an observational drawer, we move a little bit further away from the object that we're drawing. So you're beginning that very beginning of observational drawing. It's not a talent, it's a built and developed skill. And you have been doing it for a very long time, since you did your first hand turkey. When you're finished, if you just put your pen up, that would be great. One thing I love about drawing is how quiet it is. Everybody focuses so hard. And I have everybody's finished. I think, Julie, I didn't mean to rush you, Julie.
Oh, I'm done.
Are you done? Okay, great. So what I'm going to do next is just kind of open this to the group very quickly about how was that experience maybe different than your first hand turkey drawing? What did this experience feel like to you? Is there anybody that could share with me?
So Lynda, I would say that one of the things that I did differently is that I was feeling the pen, like, yeah. Oh, it touched the finger and went in between, because you said that when you were doing it. So I was really feeling how it was kind of rubbing up against the side of my finger. I guess the hand turkey was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, Tracy. how Allison, how did that feel?
It was more personal, I guess, you know.
It was your hand.
More like my hand than a turkey.
Right, more not a turkey.
Pause everybody here because
Annie.
this is so truncated and we're out of time. But that, I know it goes so fast, but that was beautiful. I just want to just do a quick truncation, sort of what would have happened next is you would have shared your work and Lynda would have set up a feedback protocol, all of these things, so that you can talk about what you notice about each other's work, what you like about each other's work, but also maybe what questions you have each other's work. But that bit, Allison, that you were commenting on around Lynda's description and help and guidance while you're working, she is helping you to build aesthetic awareness, helping you to build decision-making and art-making skills. It's really tied to the skills. And then the feedback and the discussion that comes after is the way we connect to one another as art makers and start to build community. Don't worry, everybody in my audience out there. We are going to come back to Lynda and ask some questions and really get into some of the design elements of this. But before we do that, I just wanted to give a couple of slides about Lifetime Arts, because one of the things that we do recognize is that the sort of intricacies of this training is very specific, and there are specific adaptations that we do need to make now that we're working on virtual platforms. Eric, could you share the last two slides for me? Great. So Lifetime Arts, this is what we do. We have a long history of training teaching artists, program coordinators, education, executive leadership, policymakers, and funders across sectors, including arts and cultural organizations, public libraries, community centers, and senior serving organizations. We prepare organizations and individuals who serve older adults to not just design programs, but to initiate, develop, and deliver and sustain arts programming for older adults, whether it's online or in person. Our training is always customized to the people that we're working with, the organizations or the individual teaching artists. It's highly experiential, and it's enhanced by innovative professional development resources and tools. Training sessions also feature demo classes, guest artists like our beautiful Lynda Monick-Isenberg, and community-specific topics and panels. For the foreseeable future, we will be delivering all training via synchronous online sessions in the Zoom platform, and this will be supported by asynchronous learning via digital materials and resources. And next slide, please. So come and talk to us. We'd love to hear from all of you that are interested in working with older adults, especially at this time. And we'd love to help your organizations and your arts and cultural councils and any of your artists that you work with. So this is a picture of our training page at lifetimearts.org/creative aging training. And on that page, you'll find a tab that you can set up a consultation for free with us and just talk to you, and you can talk to us and we can get to know your organization. So Susan, I'm going to pass it back to you because I really know that people would love to have an opportunity to talk to Lynda about her process. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so wonderful. I feel like my central nervous system is nice and calm now. It's a great way to be right now. I want to just invite everybody who has turned off their video to just come back on if you want to. And you can just undo the sequence of events that brought us to that sort of spotlight. So you can uncheck hide video folks in your video. Looks like everybody's coming back on. That's great. Okay. And just also a friendly reminder that if you need to stretch it out, get some water, be in your body, do it. Do what you need to do. Lynda, thank you. And also C and Dana and Julie and Allison and Michael. Did I miss anyone? Thank you so much for volunteering. That was really great of you to help the rest of us see. We didn't really see too many questions, really any questions come through in the chat, which doesn't mean that you all might not have any, but if you do, go ahead and put them into the chat now. But we'll start with a question about designing and teaching creative aging arts education classes for older adults and how that's different for designing for younger learners.
Lynda, why don't you go ahead and speak to that?
Sure. This is a great question. I think that ultimately there's if I think about the range of people that I've worked with, which has been sort of pre-K to 100, but most of my time has been spent with college. A lot of my time has been spent with college students, and there isn't a pressure on our older adults. They are there because they want to be there. They are there because they're curious, and they're there because they have the time, the concern, the energy, and the devotion to actually do the work. The classes we're running this summer, they do everything they can do to be there and to stay. Sometimes we have to log in for 25 minutes to get everything to work, but then we just stay an extra 25. They don't even want to leave. So it's really about that commitment, I think, Susan.
Thank you. I just saw in the chat that Ellen has a great question about inviting you, Lynda, to explain how you'd move through an 8-week class that might start with visual journaling, and what would each step be that you'd be teaching?
Well, thank you, Ellen. It's about skill building. So I want to start at a place where everybody is successful. And I want to start to build that vocabulary, use language, teaching the language of art and design as we go so that we can talk about the work. I want to connect with each person on an individual level. And so I build it through steps and skills. And I try to check in. It's different for every group because I try to check in with my students to see what they want to learn. So I give them a smorgasbord of ideas about things that they might be interested in, and then we can kind of cherry pick what it is that we're interested in doing. And when we do this, there's people that aren't interested in some things and are interested in others, but as a community, we're really willing. What I find is everybody's willing to engage in the learning because they care for one another. So we really build it by building skill as we go and by adding pieces. I call it scaffolding. I think Lifetime, we call it really work with the idea of skill building. So it really is about building those skills. And then by about week 5 and 6, after we've done some skill building in with prompts, me giving prompts, them creating prompts, creating with different materials, methods, and techniques, taking a lot of risks, making a mess, having a lot of fun. I invite them to begin to create their own prompts and their own techniques and materials that they're interested in. I hope that helps.
I also noticed, just if I can call out something.
Yeah, thank you, Annie.
Lynda, around this skill piece, which I think I've seen teaching artists be afraid of a little bit when working with older adults, and that you do so beautifully, is you weave in literacy in a non-intimidating way. You know, you talked about observational drawing, and even though you started with a really simple exercise of the hand turkey, you related it to real skills. And like Allison mentioned, it's like, as a kid, you didn't even think it was just, for lack of a better term, a craft. Whereas now you elevated this to a real art skill that is just the first step in much more intricate skills to come.
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you. There's sort of a constellation of questions that I'm receiving in the chat, and also some prepared questions here to speak about the opportunity to be reaching and teaching virtually. So I see from Teresa in the chat, specifically about museum sites and any special steps that needed to be taken to bridge the digital divide. So this question about bridging that gap from the institution side of things, but also I'd be curious to hear if you could speak about if a student is also struggling in the virtual space. It was very helpful to experience this and see it sort of live and in action, but can you speak a little bit more about, from a student's perspective and also from an institution's perspective?
So are you asking me? Are you asking Lynda?
Maybe we both can speak.
Sure.
Maybe I can speak from a student perspective, Teresa.
Yeah, that would be better.
Sounds great.
Oh, whatever you wish. Okay. Can you all hear me again? I have been working with Common Bond communities to connect with their adults 55 and over who are very isolated in one-bedroom apartments, to get them up to speed on this. And what we had to learn was how to work a cell phone, iPhone, how to work an Android, how to work a tablet, how to work an iPad, how to work a laptop that was an Apple, a Dell, we had to get into we had to really move through all these different ways of access for our students in order to get them connected. And what we found is that it was a little different on each device. Even Zoom was a little different on each device, and maybe you all have figured that out. But that took me a while to figure out. But once we could get there, we could really get our students, we could get them in, we could get them on, and we could work with them. And I have been teaching a number of students just from their cell phones, because they don't have any other access than that. And if they have a cell phone, that actually works just fine. And we've been able to do work like Annie mentioned, where I can teach a lesson. They're now all doing work in between. They're emailing it to me. I take it into Photoshop. I fix it all up, and I don't change it. I just make it presentable. And then we share it and we talk about it. So the digital world really offers us a way to engage them on levels that I don't think many people have really thought about before. And I'm reaching some students that I couldn't reach before, as Teresa mentioned. I've also worked with some museums on the content, and it seems like they're doing synchronous content and asynchronous content, and working with a variety of artists to create videos and those kinds of things too. I don't know if you want to mention any more about that, Teresa.
You're muted.
Apologies. I'm always one step too slow on the unmute. I think in terms of the first part of the question about how did some of the museums bridge the digital divide, I mean, to be honest, those who were in our grant cohort had already been offering live in-person classes. They were coming to the end, or they had reached the end of their first year of programs. They didn't know what to do. And so they kind of reached out, would it be okay if we tried doing a Zoom class? And then that's when we ended up creating the mini grants and did the training and technical assistance with Lifetime Arts to help them do this well. But what the reason that they wanted to do it, it wasn't about the grant. It was because they had had all these older adults coming to classes who became so passionate and who enjoyed each other. And all of a sudden they're shutting their apartments or homes or rooms. And until you kind of experience the kind of isolation that people who are living in assisted living or low income housing or nursing homes are experiencing this in 2020, all of us who are feeling sorry for ourselves because we're working at home or we're educating our kids at home or whatever, we got nothing to complain about until you think about what that's like. So they were so eager. I've heard this from museums. I've heard this from other programs. People saying this is really the only outside contact this person is having today. And it's so nobody wanted to let it go. Everybody wanted to keep it happening and everybody wanted to make it successful. So we found there was a real hunger. Now, the other thing I'd say about our grantees is the time of flux that we're in has made this really challenging. Education staff don't know if they'll have jobs. They don't know if they're being furloughed. And so we're dealing with a lot of uncertainty. And the other thing was they didn't have any money available to them to do this. So we kind of bridged some of that. And we're hoping, of course, as always, that by getting some of these out there and having the successes available, others will see that this is doable. It's not wildly expensive, and it really has an impact on people's lives.
Teresa, thank you so much. And as always with these webinar events, we get right into the heart of it, and then we sort of have to keep moving with our program. So I'm going to pause our Q&A here for a second because I'd like to invite Pam Bro, NASA's president and CEO, to share with us some special remarks. And I think Teresa and maybe Ellen also. Pam, I think you're still muted.
Is this better?
Yep.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much to Teresa, Annie, and Lynda for a really incredible session. And thanks to all of you for your interest in and support of creative aging programs. I am so happy to be here today as the bearer of good news, especially during these challenging times. NASA and Aroha Philanthropies have been working together to lift up creative aging for a few years now. This work is especially timely with 46 million people in our country over the age of 65 today, and nearly 100 million by the year 2060. It's also timely because it's time to change the outdated ideas about what it means to be an older adult in our culture. We all know through research and firsthand experience that the arts are a powerful pathway to joy, to social engagement, improved quality of life, good health for everyone, and especially for older adults. Creative aging programs can support personal growth, lifelong learning, and artistic mastery. They can also reduce isolation, ease anxiety and depression, support healthy minds, and more. Many of you already have creative aging programs, though not all of you, and a lot of you who do have these programs want to be doing more in this space. So here's the good news. Aroha Philanthropies has made a $2 million grant to NASA. Most of this funding is for grants NASA will be making to state arts agencies. And you definitely heard that right, 2 state arts agencies. NASA, so thanks to the support and partnership from Aroha Philanthropies, NASA will be able to make a financial commitment to state arts agencies that want to launch or grow creative aging initiatives. And we'll do this through both grants and professional development programs. You know, every day is a good day to promote creative aging, but this moment is especially ripe for our field to make an impact. Older adults of one of the populations, they're one of the populations we know that is disproportionately affected by COVID-19. And so we know that this moment of opportunity comes at a time when the need is great, and we're very happy to help. These amazing new resources will be accessible to you soon, so please stay tuned for more information on the guidelines and application process. Our very own Susan Oetgen will serve as the director of this new initiative, and you'll be hearing more from her soon. And FYI, you helped us design this new program thanks to your participation in the extensive survey and focus group NASA did last year. We always start with members first. We are so thrilled to have this partnership with Aroha Philanthropies and with Lifetime Arts as a collaborator in this work. We have been incredibly inspired by Lifetime Arts. They're a leader in creative aging, you saw that today, and they have a long history of doing this work, including with many state arts agencies. We have learned so much from them, and we're really happy to share today this example. Thank you again, Teresa, Annie, and Lynda. And thank you to Aroha Philanthropies for their leadership and vision. I heard Ellen earlier on the Zoom today, and thank you as well, Ellen. Thank you especially, Ellen. Teresa, would you please say a few words about this to our members?
Sure. We're just so proud and happy to be able to make this investment in creative aging for the future. I specifically want to call out Ellen for her personal generosity in making these resources available. The rest of us have been here to facilitate this vision, but we believe so strongly that you as state arts agencies really are potentially the catalysts to bring this work to the mainstream, even though I know your budgets are going to be in tough shape in the next coming years. Private funders might be interested, but believe me, you guys, they are slow to act, and they will take your lead in seeing that this is important to the health and future of the arts and the communities that they serve. So not only are we excited to have you apply for the funds, we hope you'll trumpet your work throughout your regions and across the country, and let us celebrate with you in the years ahead. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both to Pam and Teresa. This is thrilling. It is 4:45. I want to not take too much more time, but just make available in the chat here my direct email. Please feel free to contact me directly. I will be sharing out more details soon. I want you to know that we anticipate that grant guidelines will be coming your way by around October 26th. We anticipate applications will be due mid-December. Notifications of grants happening in mid-February 2021, and that we anticipate that the project activity period would take place beginning early March 2021 and extending through December 2022. So please stay tuned. Feel free to get in touch with me if you have immediate questions, but also know that NASA will be sending a lot more detailed communication very soon. It is absolutely a thrill and a pleasure to work with Aroha Philanthropies and our colleagues at Lifetime Arts, who are superb, and I'm excited. Thanks to Lynda also for being here today for this great session. Just one last thing is to please keep your eye out on emails for continued learning series sessions. We have Shifting Narratives happening on October 14th. And the Business Bash on October 22nd. I want to wish everybody a beautiful rest of the fall, autumn evening. It sounds like everyone's enjoying some good weather for once. And I rejoice in this wonderful news, and it's a pleasure to announce it and to be part of it.